Okay. I think it's time for Supra stuff. So where we left off, the Supra needed a wiring harness. However, being a Supra, wiring harnesses are either extremely expensive or really hard to find. But I found one. Let me explain why it was so much harder for me to find a harness for the Supra than it should be. This is a 1989 Toyota Supra wiring harness. And this is also a 1989 Toyota Supra wiring harness. However, if you look at the ends, they're not the same. So, there were two different generations of the Mark III Toyota Supra. There was the 1986 to 1988 Supra and the 89 Plus Toyota Supra. This was the early version, this one got the facelift. However, you could almost say that there was a third generation, which is my generation, and it's right in the middle. It's 1989, and it was only made for the first 6 months of production. Now, the reason you could call this the third generation, or technically the second because it's in the middle, is because it was almost like their test dummy. It got the facelift, it got everything they needed, but halfway through the year they realized, oh wait, we could tweak some things, such as the wiring harness. So that means my car was only made for 6 months. Making a wiring harness for this car extremely hard to find. But after months of searching, I found one. Now, this harness was extremely expensive and very hard to find. And even then, it still needs a ton of work, which means we're gonna have to rebuild it. Which I know is super boring, and I already made a video on rebuilding a wiring harness. So cut to a quick montage of this thing being built. Alright, after all that time, that took way longer than I expected. I think we're finished. So, a couple things I wanted to mention is that this loom, it's like the braided loom or whatever. I got inspiration from this, I think from a Jimmy Oaks video actually, but I am very impressed with how it turns out. It literally transformed the whole look of this harness and went from gross ugly stock look to super sleek. So, I'm very happy with that. The next thing would be all these wires up here on the top. This is where the CPS, mass airflow sensor, stuff like that is. I decided not to wrap it right away just because I wasn't exactly sure how the wiring loom went or where they flew off or whatever. So I figured I'd just leave it because it's really easy to get to and I'd rather be safe than sorry. So once this is in the car, I'll go through here and wrap this and it should be a fairly quick process. So without further ado, I think this thing's ready to go in the Supra. I know this wasn't a super in-depth video on how I did all this, but if you guys are interested in seeing one that explains a little bit more, I posted a video a little while ago about me rebuilding one of these older ones that ended up not working. So I'll link that in the description below. You guys should go check it out. It's a great video.
One little boost to the surface later.
All right, guys, I made it. I'm back here with the Supra. It's a little dusty just because it's been sitting so long. I also got to put that wheel back on. But as you guys can see, it's an absolutely beautiful day outside. The sun is shining. It's nice and warm. Not that warm. It's still only 30 some degrees, but that's a huge difference compared to last week when it was negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit out. I got the wiring harness here. Everything's ready to go with the car, so I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna put it in, and fingers crossed that this thing starts. I'm excited. Well, I haven't even got to take the wiring harness out of the box, and I already found something pretty annoying. So I just opened the driver's side door to look into the car, and I found this crap just all over. Like there's 100% a mouse nest underneath this seat and probably mice everywhere else in this car too, which sucks because if you guys watched the video where I put the carpet in, I thought I took care of that issue. But for now, I'm just going to put the harness in and we'll probably end up pulling out this seat and taking care of this some other time. Okay, here's a little tip for you guys if you're ever doing engine-based stuff in your Supra and you want more room. Take a string and tie the hood up to the rafters. That way it's like way more open and you got all that space to work with. I also did that because I don't have a hood prop, but yeah, it's an idea. So I'm going to explain to you guys kind of how this works if you guys didn't see the video of me pulling this. So the ECU plugs, this stuff, it all goes in through this little hole here. And then it runs along the firewall and then comes down and goes underneath the intake manifold here, and that's where all the injector plugs, the knock sensor, all that stuff is. And then it'll split off into the fuse box and then run along the top of this, and then just do all of like your CPS and like water temp sensors stuff, all that. So it's pretty straightforward. However, you do have to move some of the stuff out of the way, kind of like the charcoal canister, if you still have that. Most people delete it, and then the intake, like piping and all that stuff. So let's get started. Okay guys, it is the next day, and you know how I was saying it was nice and warm like yesterday? Well, not today. It's like -0 something degrees. It's insanely cold, and yeah, and we got the boys here. But we're gonna take this thing and tow it into the shop where it's warm, so I can work on it where it's warm and not somewhere where I'm gonna freeze and stuff.
Alright, okay, slow down.
Okay, we got the Supra pulled in and ready to go. We also got the whole squad in here, and they're all doing stuff on their cars. But in the meantime, we're gonna get this thing running. Hopefully, it'll go smooth. The goal is that this thing will be running by the end of tonight. Working hard, Espen? Uh-huh. You fit pretty well in there. Hey, duck. Bye-bye.
I'm not singing.
Okay guys, I got everything where I think it needs to go. So as you guys can see, this is still a mess, but I'm gonna wait to wrap all this until I make sure it starts up. So everything's on. I think we're good to go. We just have to put the battery in and then first crank. Okay, battery's hooked up. I'm honestly like extremely nervous. Just because it's like the wiring harness. Like, don't get me wrong. We've redone head gaskets in a Subaru. I replaced an engine in the Mini Cooper. I've helped replace engines in other stuff and do a bunch of other really in-depth things. But as far as like nervous level goes, rebuilding this wiring harness has me like on the edge of my seat. Like, I'm mildly freaking out. But let's send it. Please let this car start up in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, let's do it. It turns over.
How old's the gas in it?
It sounds like it's not getting spark or fuel.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Okay, let me know if it starts.
Okay. No.
No spark?
Nothing.
Okay, stop. Yes! It has spark. Okay. So this is what we did. The CPS wires, because I put a new plug on them, just need to be switched around. I rebuilt my CPS with a 4Runner distributor, and so the wires are 2 different colors, so it's not actually matched up. It's 2 of them are swapped. So, but it has spark now, so let's see if it runs. All right, we put a jumper pack on it because it was a little bit dead. We let it charge for a little bit. He has the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Fire extinguisher.
He's got the fire extinguisher. Let's see if this thing works again. Dude, it wants it. Holy crap, did you hear that?
Yes.
It sounds so freaking good. That wasn't misfiring. It wasn't misfiring. Did it sound like it was misfiring?
No, that sounded normal.
Okay.
Alright, battery's dead.
Did you hear that though?
Yes, dude.
Okay, so definitely made progress. It like kind of surges and then dies. I had almost the same issue with it before where it was doing that. And it ended up, I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure it'll be an easy fix. But for now, it sounds like it's running healthy on all 6 cylinders this time instead of 4. Before it was misfiring a bunch, now it actually sounds like it's running right. But yeah, so I'm leaving for Pennsylvania tonight, so we're gonna put this back in the garage, and this will be something for me to deal with when I get back. We may have spoke too soon. Clap is an absolute genius for this. So he pointed up here, and this is like the vacuum line outlay, and we were looking through it, and we realized the VSV here was disconnected from the rail. And so it's right down here, it's in a really weird position, but I connected it to the vacuum rail, and fingers crossed this fixes it.
Nah, you still got air coming out there?
Well, we didn't get it running this time, guys, but this is the closest I've ever had it to running on 6 cylinders in the entire time I've owned it. So I'm calling it a success. This car isn't finished yet, and it's not running, but it is one step closer to unbroken. Until next time, guys. Holy smokes, this thing looks so hot.
Do we have to move this thing tomorrow too? After it's dead?
No, we can leave it tomorrow.